Gig Gab, episode 427 for Monday, April 29th, Poem in Your Pocket Day 2024. Oh, what is going? Why isn't music playing? There's the music. Technical difficulties abound. We're pushing through. Greetings, folks, and welcome to Gig Gab, the show by, for, and about working musicians here in Durham, New Hampshire. I am Dave Hamilton, and today with me I have two of the members of a band I just recently found out about, Best Not Broken. I have Eric Jackson and Carluccio joining me, and we can hear some of the background noise. Carlo in Nashville at the moment. Hello, how are you?
Hey, Bub, how you doing? All right, doing well here. Sorry for the noise, but it's hey, it's beautiful and sunny, so there's that.
There's that. We can hear the sunshine, my friend. And Eric, thank you for taking the time to join today too.
Of course, my pleasure. Very nice to be here.
Yeah, thanks for coming on the show. And I'm sorry, Mark couldn't make it. We had technical difficulties, or just spread far and wide today, but we're going to push through and make this happen. So
yeah.
So I found out about you guys about 2 or 3 weeks ago. You opened a show around here locally at Blue Ocean Music Hall for Barry Goudreau's Engine Room. Barry Goudreau, of course, being one of the guitar players from the band Boston. And you opened this show, and I was blown away. You're an original band, high energy performance, tight harmonies, clever inclusion of cover songs, like interwoven with your originals, the whole, and a tight show that just delivered like high energy and engagement with the crowd from moment one all the way through to the end. And I thought, okay, these guys understand, like, talk about always be performing, right? Like you embodied that for this, relatively, I mean, it was what, a 45-minute set or something like that you had. Yeah. So and you've been around since 2012, right? You've released like 4 EPs and 8 singles, and you're clearly good at self-promotion. So I figured I need to have you on the show. How did the band start? Tell me a little bit about the history and kind of the evolution here.
Yeah, sure. So we started as a cover band here in southern New Hampshire, and I was always a songwriter, and so slowly started introducing the original material into the cover shows, and sort of used the cover show as a testing ground for some of the original stuff, and for learning how to interact with an audience and learning how to perform and putting in all the hours and that kind of stuff. And so in time, really the long-term goal was to be an original band, and that's kind of, we finally evolved to that point. Of course, there have been different members along the way, and it was when we Carlo joined us, I forget how many years ago, but a long time ago. And,
100 years.
100 years ago.
There it is. Sure.
And Mark shortly there, or I guess Mark was after Carlo, shortly thereafter. And that's when sort of thing kind of went like from, all right, this is a project that we all feel really good about. We started having more fun and being more collaborative with the original material, and so we just took it from there. But and we still, because we have that background with the cover music, we've tried to incorporate that into some of our original stuff, just as a way of having fun and to connect with the audience, even though they're in some cases very short snippets. But we find it works, and so that's it. So we've been slugging away doing this for a while, and we're still like everybody else. We're hoping for the hit. Carlo's down in Nashville, hopefully shopping hard with all of our latest material. We'll see.
Nice.
Listen, somebody's got to do the work in this band. For crying out loud,
It's the drummer.
It's the drummer. It's always the drummer who does the work. That's right. Drummer. Yeah. Tell me about it. No, it's not true. Actually, I'm in bands with great collaborators, but it's just fun to say that it's always the drummer. So I will say, I wound up listening to several of your EPs. I think that like my favorite material of yours is the most recent stuff. I think your current songs are the best that you've put out, which is a lot of bands. That's not how it works. You know, the first EP is the stuff that's good, and then it's like, oh crap, we got to go back to the well. It's a little dry, but we'll deal. And but no, I was pleasantly surprised. It was like, oh yeah, and that your most recent EP just came out in end of 23, right?
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. Yeah. And we appreciate that very much. You know, some of those tunes have been. You talk about the well. You know, we've got a well. Some of those tunes had been kicking around for a while, and we were just sort of waiting for the right time. And some
Sure.
of them are like totally brand new. So, yeah, nice to hear that you liked them. Well, we tend to like that EP as well.
Yeah. Very, very, very nicely done. And I, I'm a sucker for power pop. I certainly would, like, we could call you guys power pop. I would also, but it's power pop with like an 80s and 90s twist, not power pop rooted in the 70s or whatever. It's like you definitely have some of that just 80s synth pop going on, and 90s. Like the 90s were an interesting decade for music, right? Because there's a lot of like edgy riffs, starts and stops to songs. I equated a lot of 90s rock to country songs in that they have events in the moments, punchlines where the whole band stops, there's a moment, and then it moves on, and like those songs are hard to learn. But but you guys have it all. Like I appreciated it. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I mean, we definitely, all of that is a part of our music. I kind of started as a singer-songwriter, but loved the 80s stuff, loved the 90s stuff. Every EP we've done, I think, has more or less of one or the other. This last one probably is a little bit more 90s than I was anticipating, but also, flashes back even more than that, I think, some of the references, but yeah, for sure, it's fun. And we actually, Human Emotion, which was a song that we didn't have high hopes for, is performing pretty well on Spotify and seems to be catching some momentum, so we're psyched about that too.
That's amazing. All right, well, let's talk about this, because you clearly have figured out a few things about promoting the band and your material and all of that. Like you're getting, thousands of plays, sometimes tens of thousands of plays on, for a song on Spotify or at least, catalog wide. But how do you go about promoting your music other than, playing gigs or perhaps in addition to playing gigs?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And, candidly, I don't think we have figured it out. I don't know if any band has. I guess there probably are others that have figured out much more than we are. I mean, we're doing the best we can.
What are some of the things that you do? Just like it, because it's clear you do it better than many other bands. Let me put it that way. Whether you feel you figured it out or not is immaterial to this conversation. I think you figured it out, and I want to know what you do.
Yeah. Well, I guess we spend some time on social media, right? So, and we go through phases where we're focused on something and trying to make it better, and then we'll turn our attention somewhere else. I wish we could do it all at once, but like many bands, we're mostly DIY. We have a little bit of help. So we spent some time for a number of years trying to grow our social media presence, Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and that's definitely helped get us a base of people that we can connect with that aren't just local. We've spent a lot of time early in our performing years, like literally hanging up posters and trying to create brand recognition in Southern New Hampshire, and I think we've done a decent job of that. To the point where we were able to build up some connections so that we can sneak into, some of these opening slots and have built up a little bit of a resume for ourselves. That, and now, of course, things like Spotify and some of the other streaming services are important. We've hired people to help us in some cases, so we part of what we do is take the money that we earn in the business and invest it back into our business. And so, if we can find people that know promotion better than we can, we'll hire them to help us with that. So we recently did a a campaign. I guess it was sort of an online PR campaign. We've done a little bit of radio work where we'll hire someone to help us find radio stations that would be interested in playing us. So, we put some money back into it. We hire people in cases, we're not talking big national things, but people locally or regionally that can help us build our relationships and get in front of more people. And so it's, nothing complicated, but we just do the best we can at those things.
No,
yeah, you have to do a lot of
Carlo.
it too. You
Sorry.
know what I mean? You have to do a lot of it. There's so many touch points out there for people to access music or to access artists that they want to follow. And I think we do try to hit all of the major, areas, whether it is on social media or the streaming platforms, to make sure that we're accessible. Because you really don't know, like Eric said, what the magic is. Like, where's the, it's not all in one spot, right? You gotta try to blanket as much as you can, and somehow pay attention to all those channels too, because there's interaction that happens, and that gets to be that's the DIY, part of it, where you're trying not to miss stuff, that's coming in, but it's definitely, hitting as many avenues of the popular avenues, as possible, and trying to stay on top of them.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. And they, in the business world, in the marketing world, it's often said some version of, I know that 50% of my advertising works. I just wish I knew which 50%. And certainly in the online world, companies have attempted to deliver that answer. You still really can't, but yeah, I mean, that's your point, right? Like you keep doing it all, and in aggregate, it starts moving the needle. But it sounds like bullheaded persistence and consistency is the key. So
and a product, right? I mean, you have to have a product that, that people might find interesting, and I think that the music that we make seems to resonate with some people. But I would also say that the videos that we do start to differentiate, and people, you can get, it's more identifiable. You know what I mean? You can relate to, oh, that's what they look like, or that's their vibe, that's their thing. I get what they're doing. So that certainly adds to it as well.
That makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense when you think about and approach your band for the business that it is, because there is a business side to it. And it's very clear from what you guys have just been saying that you certainly approach this like a business. I think you even said those words, Eric. So
yeah, we treat it like a business and try and run it that way, and we have revenue and expenses, and hopefully the revenue is higher.
Yes, right. Well, that is good for a profitable business anyway. That's right.
Yeah,
if you're looking for a tax deduction, on the other hand, like, yeah. You mentioned management help, and as I was sort of digging in and doing a little bit of prep for this, it seems like there's Enoch Entertainment is sort of listed as your management company, but it also seems like that might be you, Eric. Are you part of Enoch Entertainment, or is that a different element?
Yeah, no, Enoch Entertainment is an entity that I set up years ago, and the initial intention was to work with us, but also with other artists in the area that were kind of thing. And so we did some of that early on. Not as much of it now, but that was sort of the initial goal. It still serves as an entity that handles some of those tasks, but we have some other help now. And as I'm more focused on the music, I guess. So
yeah. No, that makes sense. Okay, so you truly have farmed some of the stuff out to, like you said, to people who have the skills to complement what you guys have. Yeah,
yes,
that's great.
Yep,
really smart. I want to dig. I know we're on a limited time here. I want to dig in to some of the more technical aspects of your show. And it sure seemed to me, correct me if I'm wrong, it seemed to me like you were playing with tracks, therefore playing with a click. It looked like, Carlo, you were kind of starting the click before every song or most songs. Am I right about that before I go any farther?
Yeah, we run a click and backing tracks for all of our original material.
Yeah, and but it seemed like there were some moments where it was like not as scripted and not to a track. Is it a kind of a mix of both at times?
Yeah, that's because we're so clever.
That's great.
Well, listen, Dave. To me, two things are happening, right? So we're either on the click or we lost it and I turned it off and we're just kind of free forming. So
Got it.
it's hard to tell, but there is a fair amount of wizardry going on with that, and hopefully we try to make it transparent to the audience.
Yeah, it
so
didn't look like you were trying to hide anything. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Oh no, I thought it was great. I mean, it was nice having sort of the synth patches and other things, layered into the songs to flesh things out and really enhance the musical aspect of it. And then me also just being like a musician and a nerd was like, all right, what's going on here? And I started paying attention, and it's like, I see. Okay, that guy, he's the one. He's driving the bus, at least in terms of the click. And it was, but like that's something as a band you need to learn how to do. Eric, are you also hearing the click in your ears, or Carlo, is it only you? Like how does that work out?
Currently, it's only Carlo. Yeah, and actually, you mentioned in-ear monitors. I was not using in-ears that night.
Right.
Don't. But I do. I find actually, like, in terms of interacting with the audience, which is a little harder in a room like Blue Ocean versus a smaller club, but I find having the in-ears makes that a little harder, and I've had a hard time getting off them. Carlos, he's ready to fire me for not wearing them, but so it's only Carlo hearing the tracks.
Got it.
And and so we will pick moments where we say, all right, we're dropping the track here, we're bringing it back in, and that gives us an opportunity to be a little bit more freeform, to interact, and to make it feel like it's not strictly by the machine, so to speak.
Yeah. So and it appears we've lost Carlo, perhaps a connection or a timing issue.
Okay.
So thank you to Carlo for spending his time with us, and I'm glad I got at least that question out before we lost him. Wait, he might be coming back.
Okay.
Okay, so that's interesting. So you're all just staying in sync with Carlo, and Carlo is back. And that's just how that goes. Is that right?
Yeah. And we've done a lot of shows, whether cover shows or whatever, where we've done that, and so we've just grown accustomed to knowing when we're on and when we're off, and we're largely following Carlo's lead on that, but knowing that it's coming.
Yeah, right. And so Carlo,
you can't believe what happened. Speaking of technical issues, I mean, I can't make this stuff up. I was sitting in apparently too sunny of an area, and my phone overheated and turned off.
Yeah,
I'm not kidding. It said your iPhone is too hot to operate. It will resume once it has cooled down.
Too hot to operate sounds like the title of your next EP.
Oh, I like that.
It sounds like, what it sounds like is my life. Too hot to operate.
So like Carlo, you mentioned it. You're being aware of the click in those moments, and if the band starts to drift too far off and you can't get everybody back, you just bail on the click and just play the song like a band. How long did it take you as a band until you, Carlo, were comfortable sort of managing that and trusting that everything was going to work most of the time?
Well, I guess it was a process. I mean, most of my career has been non-click related live, sure. but as you know, all click related studio. So, as a drummer, it's not a great issue. But when you are playing live, there are moments, especially given the dynamics of what Eric and Mark are doing up front, where sometimes it doesn't lend itself to that opportunity. So there's a fair amount of time, background time, that goes into the whole band, I guess is what I should say, knows where they're supposed to be in regards to using the click. So we don't stray too often. It's generally on it, and I think that as each show goes by, actually what I should say is each set list change, right? So when the set list is locked in, and the show that you saw was a brand new set list for us. So you know, you can rehearse it all you want, but until you play it live,
You don't know.
you really don't know, right? But
Yeah.
we've got a fairly simple setup for how we run the tracks. It's you know, unfortunately, it puts the drummer in a bubble because, you know, I can't really hear what's going on. We're not using a room mic really, so
Oh, really?
yeah,
Have you
yeah.
tried, and this is just, you know, drummer tricks, have you tried using, like, bleeding more of your overhead mic into your ears to use that as sort of the stage wash microphone?
Which works really well, but you may have noticed I did not have overheads that night.
I did notice you didn't have overheads that night, and
Yeah.
I was wondering how you were, how that felt. Yes.
It
I
was
will
more
often bring my-
isolated than usual.
Yeah, I will often bring my own, you know, overhead replacement or stand-in mic if the front of house doesn't want to use overheads or whatever. I still want it, so I will, you know, bring a mixer and an overhead, and I'll take the feed that front of house gives me, add some sort of ambient stage wash mic that I can blend in on my own into that feed. And it's saved my bacon more than once. So.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it makes a big difference. You know, I mean, So my method is I crack not a beer. I crack an earpiece.
Yep.
I drop an earpiece so that if I need to hear what's going on, and that's
That makes
kind of what
sense.
I do. You know, as an opener, you know, if we're headlining, yeah, never an issue. We make sure everything is where it needs to be. But as an opener, you've got a limited window,
Yes.
and you got to you just deal with what you have. You know.
Exactly. You know, as an opener or on a you know multi-band bill, festival bill, or something like that, you get you get what you need. You hope for a little more, and suddenly it's downbeat. You know, gotta go.
Right. And you know, it makes a big difference. You know, obviously the quality of the sound that we're hearing, you know, it certainly as a performer affects what you can give back to the audience. You know, to be hearing yourself properly.
Absolutely. And it's clear that you, as I said earlier, you know, that you are all super focused on giving everything you can to the audience. And I loved how you would just seamlessly drop into, you know, either the, you know, second half of a cover song or you know, the bridge or a chorus of a cover song, and then right back into your original. That's a byproduct of having been a cover band and trying to sort of sneak your originals into sets in the earlier days. Is that right?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah. And also just trying to think about how to have some fun with it, you know, but
yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. It's clear you rehearse this stuff. I mean, it to us in the audience, it's a surprise, but it's not a surprise. Like when you started, Eric, you started playing the guitar solo from Freebird, you know, just right in the middle of, you know, one of your original tunes. It was one of those moments. I looked at my son, we both kind of laughed, like, oh, he's playing the lick from Freebird, and it was like, no, they're actually now playing Freebird. Like, this is not just the lick from Freebird, but this did not surprise anyone on stage, is what I guess I'm trying to say. So
no,
yeah.
But I'll tell you, Carlo did surprise me at the end of that tune, because actually we were supposed to go back into our.
I was just thinking about that. Screw ups. Yeah, for sure.
So we did have a screw up because we were supposed to go back into the original tune, but Carlo must have been checking out a girl or something. I don't know what he's doing. But,
I was focused on an audience member. She was actually she was stage left, and she was air drumming to everything that I was doing.
Okay.
And I think she had red hair actually, and so
go.
it was very exciting to watch.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Dave, we're learning something here. Thank you for
listening. Distracted by a redheaded air drummer. I love this.
No. I mean, you can't make this up. This is how it happens. And then, of course, as soon as we get into the big wash at the end, I'm thinking, I just missed the cue. I mean, here it is. The cue is over. But I'll give you a little secret, Dave. So at that point, so that song does run, you know, tracks, you know, with a click.
Yeah.
And we designed that one so that it obviously drops off when we jump into Freebird, and it does not come back. So in my defense, how am I supposed to know what to do?
You didn't have the guide track.
I didn't have the guide track on. Yeah, right.
Plus, you had a redheaded air drummer. I mean,
and I had the redheaded air drummer, so there's nothing I could do about it. I'm helpless in that situation.
Like anyone else in your shoes would have done exactly the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
We drummers need to stick up for each other.
Yes, exactly. Right.
That's great. And that was not apparent. As a musician, you go see a band, you catch those moments where everybody on stage kind of looks at each other like, oh crap, what just happened? Are we all on the same page? Okay, great. Like that. I'm sure that happened, and I'm sure you were aware of it. In the crowd, I was not, and so it's a testament to your professionalism. So yeah.
Well, thanks, and I would reiterate that's from years of playing together.
Yes,
certainly.
Right.
As you know, the rhythm section is obviously, that's the band, right? Everybody else.
It's the most important part of the band.
Of course
that's
it
right.
is. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But in all seriousness, Mark and I have been together for a long time, and we can cue off each other pretty easily, and whatever the lunatics up front are doing, we can pretty much, keep it under control. But in a serious note, I mean, that is the benefit of playing together for a long time.
Of course.
We kind of know, and I think we all kind of knew, but we covered that up pretty good, I think.
Yeah, you totally did. It was like, oh yeah, all right. Well, they just transitioned to Freebird and ended Freebird. Like, okay, that's fine. That was fun. And for that crowd, there to see a piece of classic rock history with Barry Goudreau, maybe not the worst mistake to have made. Like, finish out Freebird and give people Freebird. Like, for that crowd, I'll tell you, everybody there, they were all into it, so it's fine.
And you kind of touched on something that we do think about. We think about who are we playing with, what's the audience going to be like, and that was the first time we've ever played "Don't Fear the Reaper."
Oh yeah,
that song came out, I think, the same year that Boston's first album came out, so we knew there was going to be some connection there.
Sure,
a couple of those old classics we thought would be a good fit, so we tried to have a little fun with them.
Amazing. Well, I know we are at the pushing the limit of the time that you two have for us today. I just want to say thank you for taking the time to be with us. I really appreciate it. Please tell everyone where they can find you and how they can learn more about you and maybe catch a show or at least listen to some of your music.
Sure. So, www.bestnotbroken.com, which, Dave, as you pointed out, is under brief hiatus, but we'll be back very soon. That's our website. And then we've got, a Facebook page, Instagram page, Twitter page, all that stuff. And we're going to be doing some touring this summer. We're going to be, as you mentioned, Train. We're going to be playing with Train up in Guilford, New Hampshire at Meadowbrook. And
no kidding. That's I will let Matt. We had last week. We had Matt Musty from Train here on Gig Gab, and so I will make sure he knows that you guys are going to be there and that you've got the Gig Gab connection. So yeah, that's great.
Matt may not know it, but actually, Pat has on his. I think he has a Sirius satellite show. He played one of our tunes. Actually, it was that song that we did Freebird on. Tell Me You Want Me played on Pat's Sirius radio show, and we've done a couple. So we do the second stage up at Meadowbrook, and we've done a couple of these with Train. So that'll be a fun one.
That's great.
Yeah, we'll be around. Check out some live dates. We try to be a live band, and we'd love to have you come out and see us.
You are a fantastic live band, and I really appreciate your time, Carlo. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks absolutely. If there's anything, if you had 3 words of advice to share with our audience, what might those be?
Ready, Carlo? 1, 2, 3. Always be
performing
with the natural.
I love with the filter and everything else. Thanks, folks. We'll see you next week.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
And we're out. That's great.